What's up, guys? Welcome to Munchkins Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Munchkins logging in to bring you another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video, and welcome back to another video guide. In today's video is going to be the Intersecting Wills for Snow. Before we do start, like and subscribe if you haven't already, because it does help this channel and I really do appreciate it. And now, without further ado, let's start this video. Alright guys, so we'll start this video as always on how you're going to deal with the Lufenia orb, which starts at the start of the battle and will not disappear. You get +1 when the enemy takes any ice brave damage, and +3 when you as the player takes reduced brave damage. So Snow, Zack, Warrior of Light, Celeste on your Night Realm core, Oron and Gladio are some of the characters that can fill in these roles. You got Snow or Celeste that can fill in both roles since they have ice brave damage attached to them, and they can enchant themselves as well, but for the most part all their attacks are ice based anyway, so they are some of the characters that you may want to consider bringing along. Now let's talk about how this fight works. Let's talk about the recast ability first, because it's probably one of the biggest things in this fight. Now, this is a bit of funny recast ability because honestly, it will just use a brave attack and inflict a lot of debuffs if you don't get broken. If you do get broken though, it adds Pulse Fire, which basically has a brave gain plus AoE HP damage. You do not want to get broken. Now, the boss can also remove your buffs with the ability called Collide, and will summon an ad as well. Now, the ad itself, if you do get broken, it does have a high turn rate, and it usually just follows it up on the boss's turn afterwards. Basically, it'll teleport its next turn next to the boss. It will also use a Kamikaze attack, which is a plus variant of Triple Slash, I believe, and basically this will do an HP, brave plus HP damage, which I believe is a guaranteed hit, and it will die afterwards. However, for the most part, a lot of players just kinda let this die off with the splash damage and they concentrate more on the boss. However, you just have to be really careful regarding this one, and I do suggest bringing a tank along so you don't have to worry about it. And speaking of tanks and how you're going to deal with this fight, you need to use one. I highly suggest you do. You can still not do this and just ignore it and just like blitz through this fight, which is fine. It is possible to do so because honestly I've done it. So basically, not only the tank fills in that role to be defensive and make sure you don't get a lot of HP damage and all that jazz, it also fills in that Lufenia orb. So there you go. However, if you don't plan to bring a tank and you do get broken for whatever reason, you still got your boy Setzer with his freeze debuff, and he's still very valuable, rainbow damage. What else can I say? Now, other things that I would add here, which I think I've been adding here and there in my videos, I've kind of just been adding these more for the newer players out there, and that is using your Cole's abilities. They are very helpful. They can increase your overall HP damage, even increase your brave damage, and even apply a lot of debuffs. And the other thing is actually stacking up your burst effects. Now, burst effects, you will have to have different burst effects. You can't have like two characters with the same burst effects. It doesn't work like that. So you will have different characters which with their own BT plus effects or BT effects. All right. Other than that, there's really not much else to say regarding this fight. You do have to play a little bit defensive if you want to avoid a lot of HP damage. However, like I mentioned earlier, it is still pretty possible to do this fight without a tank and be more on the offensive end. Alright, now let's talk about some characters that you may want to bring in this fight, which honestly there's a lot of characters. However, Ice Enchanter or ice based characters obviously are some of the top priority, but I think a tank is really just the way to go if you want to be safe. Ice enchanters, there's a lot of them. Ice-based characters, a lot of them. But there are some ice enchanters as well that fill in the tank role, like Celeste I mentioned earlier. She can actually provide a party-wide ice enchant, which is something that you may want to consider. But however, I would have to say that you will have to bring quite a very offensive team alongside with her, since she doesn't actually do a ton of damage, to be completely honest with you. So yeah, you just have to play around that and see how you do. Now, as for cold characters, there's a bunch of cold characters, and I can just say use the usual, which is, you know, Kurosame, you've got Jack, Bronth, and basically that's it. Kurosame, though, is probably the highlight for this fight, because not only can he apply that debuff to increase your HP damage, he can also ice enchant. So something that you really want to consider bringing him along. I honestly feel like he's one of the best ones to bring in this fight. Alright guys, now let's talk about some party compositions, and the first one is the team that I went with in JP. I went full offensive on this fight. Machina, Setzer, and Jet. I've got Kurosame, Jack, and got Bronze. I would probably switch things around, maybe Warrior of Light or something like that if you are afraid of getting some damage. But yeah, basically, yeah, BT plus effects, BT effects plus Machina's BT plus a lot of damage, especially with Setzer Rainbow Color. Honestly, this will melt the boss. I've got Machina for the support as well, but I don't think I even use the Machina support. I basically beat this fight with just my own Machina. Shiva for the summon, obviously this does increase the Lufenia orbs since it is pretty tight. But yeah, if you have if you use Kurosame on like say Setzer, and as long as you have that coal buff, which, you know, enchants everyone with ice, then Machina with his BT phase can actually increase the Lufenia orb as well. Alright guys, next one I've got Snow, Selfie, and Machina. Machina is a little bit replaceable here. You can probably use it Jack if you want. Again, the coal team is kind of basically the same, but you are taking advantage of launch attacks here. I went with Machina for the support once again, but you can change it like I mentioned earlier. Sorry, I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but I'm mentioning it now, okay? You've got Shiva for the summon. I think is the best one, especially in this particular fight, so you can increase your overall Lufenia orbs. Now, the last team I have is going to be Snow, Setzer, and Vaughn. Believe it or not, Vaughn has an ice element attached to him. So, KC, Kurosame, and Jack for the support, for the cold team, and for the support, again, I went with Machina, but you can change it around if you really want to. And the summon is going to be Shiva. Alright guys, and that is pretty much it for this video, and of course I'll give you guys my final thoughts regarding this fight. Now, one thing I did forget to mention in my party composition stuff is Snow is kind of replaceable. You can use other characters like Gladio or Oron who can counter the boss and increase the Lufenia orbs, especially if you have an ice enchanter in your team. So something that you want to consider once again. But regarding my thoughts in this fight, as you guys saw from my team composition, the first one, I went very offensive on this one, and that means I didn't really have any problem with this fight. Once again, we're getting to the point where things aren't as difficult anymore, and we are pretty close to the level 90 era, so a lot of the fights seem to be, you know, easily done. of course, you still have to have the right party composition. I had someone actually comment that, you know, whenever I say that this fight is easy and stuff like that, and they're struggling, I just want you guys to know that when it regards to my comparison, it is within the Lufenia fights, and comparing it with previously, you know, previous events that was a lot harder than what it is now, because now there's a lot more characters to choose from. There's a lot more BT plus effects that you can take advantage of, and with the upcoming level 90 era, it's just gonna be a joke later down the track. These Lufenia plus will become a joke of a fight when it comes to level 90 era. So that's all I really have to say. I didn't really have any issues with this fight. Again, for me personally, it was pretty easy, but it is still within the scope of your party compositions, regarding if you have the right party or the right characters that you you know, that you have in order to make this fight much easier and much more manageable. Anyway, that is it for this video, guys. Please do remember to click like and subscribe if you haven't already. It does help the channel, and I really do appreciate it if you can share this video to other DFFO players who are struggling with their Lufenia and Lufenia Plus fight, and hopefully this video can help them actually beat these Lufenia fights. And check out my other videos as well if you are struggling. I do have quite a bit of video guides now when it comes to Lufenia fights, and as always, follow me on Twitter and on Facebook at Munchkins Gaming. Leave down in the comments below your teams, and if you think I missed anything in this fight, please leave it down in the comments below, and hopefully this will help the community out. I do apologize if I do miss anything though. And that is it. This is Munchkins logging off. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next level.